This video is made for everyone from beginners to those trying to be as efficient as possible in the monkey puzzle. Everything will be timestamped below so you can jump around to the parts most relevant to you. Let's start with a full list of plugins that I personally use throughout the puzzle. Multicolor highlight is what I use to mark the combat triangle monkeys in this room. There are a handful of plugins that can do this, but this just happens to be the one that I use. You can also highlight the monkeys using the Toa plugin, but it doesn't let you highlight their hull, which I prefer. I highlight the monkey's color that they attack with, but some people like to do the opposite and highlight the monkey's color that you attack with. It's really just personal preference. F keys aren't a Runelite plugin, but an in-game setting. They allow you to swap between tabs using your keyboard. While I'm playing, I just rest my left hand on my F keys. These are too awkward for you to hit your keyboard. You can remap them to any key, like using the key remapping plugin. I use all of the settings and tile indicators. Highlight destination tile and highlight hover tile are both pretty self-explanatory. They do as the name suggests. Highlighting your true tile is really useful as the tile that the game registers your character to be on is a little bit ahead of where it looks like your character is actually at. When I'm pathing around, I really just pay attention to where my true tile is, which can help a lot. I use radius markers to highlight the blast radius of the volatile booleans. This makes them much easier to deal with. To add a radius marker, you have to hit the icon on the side of your client rather than just going to the plugin config like you normally would. You can also highlight the volatiles using the Tombs of Maska plugin under the Path of Abacan, but it doesn't highlight True Tile, which I prefer. I use Better NPC Highlight to mark the shamans and the cursed baboons. The shamans I just mark under tile, but the cursed baboons I mark under True Tile. This allows you to see where the cursed baboons are going to path a little bit sooner. Low detail removes unnecessary clutter from the ground and smooths everything out. I use customizable XP drops to show how much damage you're going to do before the projectile actually lands. Entity Hider removes death animations, making it easier to see when an NPC has died, and removes unnecessary clutter from your screen. I also use Entity Hider to hide my thralls. Raid's Death Indicator is a plugin that does basically the same thing as Entity Hider, but it makes NPCs immediately disappear when the damage you're about to do will kill them. This only works within the monkey puzzle. I use Menu Entry Swapper to swap my shift click option on the potion to use. This lets me still use the left click as pour for when I want to pour the potion on an event, but it gives me an easy way to use the potion on another player for when corruption/DD special happens in teams. I use custom menu swaps to make the thralls that get spawned by the shamans left click walkthrough by default. I have the attack option on the thralls set to shift click. Some people might find this uncomfortable, but I'm used to it now and definitely prefer this setting. If you're doing the room right, it'll be pretty quick and the shamans don't really get a chance to spawn a bunch of thralls. In my opinion, not having to worry about misclicking on a thrall when pathing around is well worth the slight inconvenience of having to shift click to attack them. There's almost always a setup that you can put on that allows you to one-hit all the combat triangle monkeys while only doing one-way switches. Here's an example of a good setup that you can wear into the monkey puzzle that will allow you to do that. This is a nice balance of melee strength and range strength that allows you to one-hit everything. When picking a setup, the most important part is to make sure that you hit the max hit thresholds for each combat style. 25 with your range switch, 30 with your mage, and 35 with your melee. I would test your max hits while super combated, range potted, and praying your best ranged prayer, since you shouldn't need to swap offensive prayers at all. To test your max hits, just go to your POH and use the combat dummy, or go to world 330 and find one to use there. Here's an example of the lowest tier gear that I'd recommend trying to learn with. Walking in with my staff on because I'm going to be using it first, wearing mixed hide as hybrid ranged and melee gear, camping barrows gloves as well as fury, using the whip for the rangers, bloodbite for the majors, as well as everything else in the room. Something to note in this setup is that without a range bot, you're actually one max hit away from one hitting the mages, so just keep that in mind. Here's the setup that I personally take into 540s. I camp the Torms so that I can one hit with Undead Grasp, and I can one hit with the Chins as long as I'm potted, and then everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Let's go over how the room works. Once you enter the room, every so often an issue will occur. In a solo, this will be either vents or pillars, but in a team, corruption is added. When you first enter, make sure to run into the corners of the room to grab a hammer and potions. If the issue is vents, left click on the potion and neutralize it. If the issue is pillars, just click on the pillar while you have a hammer in your inventory. Once you see what the issue is, you have about 12 seconds to fix it, or you and everyone else in the room will take some damage. In a solo, you only need to fix one vent or pillar, but in a team, each team member will need to fix their own vent/pillar with a maximum of 4 vents or pillars ever needing to be fixed at once. There are a few different types of monkeys you'll encounter in this puzzle. The first are the combat triangle monkeys. There are 3 kinds of these monkeys: melee, ranged, and mage. You attack the red melee monkey with magic, the green range monkey with melee, and the blue magic monkey with range. If you attack them with the correct style, you will always max hit. Shamans. These attack with magic, but only after spawning a handful of baboon thralls. Their magic attack also drains prayer based on damage dealt. Baboon thralls are spawned by the shamans, and they attack with melee. They also drain prayer, but don't need to do damage to do so, meaning that even with melee prayer up, they're still draining your prayer, usually around 1 prayer point per hit. The volatile baboon will randomly pick a player in the room to walk towards, and then explode once a player has stood under or near them. Any enemies within the 3x3 blast radius will immediately be killed regardless of their HP, but if a player is hit, they'll take damage based on the invocation level. Curse baboons will randomly walk around the room and place acid underneath them. They won't walk onto the tile you're standing on though, so no need to run away from them. Usually, at least, there's some niche scenarios. They also can't walk onto the vents or directly in front of pillars. The combat triangle monkeys have the same HP regardless of invocation level, but after the first 5 waves, their HP will increase a bit. All other monkeys in the room have the same HP throughout the waves and regardless of invocation level, but the thrall's HP does scale with the team size. Let's go through a beginner-friendly way of completing the puzzle. The point of this section is to show you a run where I try to make things as simple as I can, while still giving you the information to get you through the room quickly with as little damage taken as possible. Here's the first setup I'll be using for the beginner walkthrough. If you're starting the raid with Baba, you'll want to pre-plot a few extra things before you go in. If you're not starting with Baba, don't worry about it, and you can just pre-plot whatever you need for the room you're doing first. Here are the pre-plots that I recommend at a minimum. A super combat, ideally a divine, a normal ranged bot, and an anti-venom. You can also add a prayer gen and an anglerfish as well to overheal. Make sure you're starting the room with a one-handed weapon and an offhand equipped, so that you can get an extra inventory slot. Don't forget you can also equip your thrall book. Okay, now let's go through step by step explaining everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it. First, run into the room and drop 3 potions towards the exit. Throw and protect from melee and summon a thrall as they're running over. You need to drop 3 potions because you need a hammer, the potions from the raid, and to unequip your offhand. Once I drop the 3 potions, I quickly run over to the potion crate. By the time you pick up the potion, the first wave will have spawned, which consists of 2 meleeers. Work on killing these melees as you make your way over to the other side and pick up a hammer. Not long after this, the first issue will occur. Deal with the issue and then kill the ranger and mage that spawn in wave 2. It's usually best to just kill the mage first, since you can long range it, whereas you have to run up to the ranger to kill it. Here, I actually killed both of the monkeys from wave 2 before I neutralized the vent. You can do this as it's a little bit faster to wait until the downtime between waves. You just want to make sure you're not too late. The next wave is going to be a shaman plus 2 meleeers. So spray melee and mage with the 2 meleeers, and then range the shaman. Something I want to note is that always killing the combat triangle monkeys first is typically the way to go. Not only will you be able to one-hit them if attacking with the correct style, we also lower the likelihood of having 2 different kinds of combat triangle monkeys attacking you at the same time. For example, when this wave you kill the shaman first and then started killing the meleeers, the next wave would spawn, which has 2 rangers. Now you're still working on killing the melees while being attacked with the range. Little things like this will add up throughout the room and help you to take less damage. The next wave consists of 2 rangers and a volatile. So throw on range parry once this wave spawns, and melee the rangers. There's no need to ever attack a volatile, since you can just pop them instead. Volatiles will be your main way of killing the baboon thralls, so try to position the thralls to be inside the volatile's blast radius when it pops. After this wave, you'll have 2 mages and a curse baboon. Just go ahead and range all 3. Next is 2 rangers and 3 special monkeys. Special monkeys being volatiles, shamans, and curse baboons. Here I get 2 volatiles and a cursed. I immediately attack the curse baboon because I already have my range gear on, and it's the only enemy that I can immediately attack. Remember, you never want to waste time attacking a volatile, since they walk up to you and they'll pop once you walk near them. After killing the cursed, I go over and melee one of the rangers, and then I fix this pillar since the ranger was right beside it and the time was running out. I then go melee the second ranger and then pop both volatiles. Next you'll have 2 mages and 3 special monkeys. I choose to take out the 2 combat triangle monkeys first, and then I take out the shamans. Here I lure a volatile over to pop a shaman, just to show that this is something that you can do. It can speed things up a bit, but you kill the shaman so quickly that it's often not that big of a deal. Next you'll have 2 melees and 3 special monkeys. I attack the nearby melee when it spawns, and then kill the shaman that I'm next to because the melee is on the other side of the room, blocked by the pillar in the middle. I continue to clear out the room a little bit, and then I notice there's an issue, so I go ahead and neutralize the vent. This next wave is a little bit unique and can cause you to take a good bit of damage. This wave has a meleeer and a ranger that spawns, so you can't protect from both of them. Honestly, the ranger doesn't really do that much damage, so you can tank it a little bit, especially if you have some health, which is what I do here. I choose to attack the curse baboon and then the shaman, since they were both nearby and the ranger was still walking over to me. Then I also kill the meleeer, and then I finally run over and melee the ranger. And after all of that, the ranger didn't even hit me. The final wave is just a bunch of special baboons. Try to utilize the volatiles as best you can to blow up the thralls, or you may be sitting there for a while trying to kill them. I know it can be really hard to try and remember what to pray and what you need to attack. There's kind of a lot of waves, so I'm going to throw on screen now all the waves and what you need to pray for each wave. Just go ahead and pause the video here if you need to take a look at this. If you've been finding this guide helpful, a sub to the channel will be greatly appreciated. Okay, back to the video. Here's an example run with the other setup I showed during the gear section. The main difference with this setup in regards to the monkey puzzle is the blowpipe. The blowpipe can be much trickier to use than the bofa since it has a shorter attack range, 5 tiles versus 10 tiles. The main reason this makes things harder is because of the curse baboons. Something to keep in mind with this setup is that the trident has a 9 tile attack range on long range and is very good against the curse baboons. Okay, so let's watch this. I drop my potions in the back and then go and pick up the raids potions from the crate. Kill the 2 meleeers. I've already turned on melee prayer and have a thrall summoned. Go to pick up my hammer. Neutralize the vent. Kill the mage and then the ranger. Melee prayer. Mage the 2 meleeers. I'm going to camp rigor here for the rest of the puzzle. The increased chance of one-hitting the shamans and the curse baboons is definitely worth it. Kill the 2 rangers. Let the volatile walk over to me. Click the mage. I try to kill the curse while it's nearby, but I don't, so I just kill the mage. So that way I don't have 2 different style monkeys attacking at the same time. I'm not really doing anything particularly special throughout this run. Really the most important thing that I'm doing is praying properly and killing things in the right order. I'm going to let the rest of this play out, so just pay attention to that for the rest of this room. Here's some really efficient use of those volatiles, clearing out all of the thralls at once. Now let's go through some different tips and tricks that'll help you throughout the room. Yellow Karis has a lesser known effect that heals you for 12 hit points on killing a target at the cost of 5 prayer points. Killing cursed baboons while they are nearby is a really good habit to have, especially while using a blowpipe. Since the blowpipe has such a short range, you can find yourself having to chase down the cursed baboons, so it's a good idea to just kill them if they're within range. You can bring ancients for your first few raids if you're really struggling, but it seriously is worth taking thralls as they're extremely useful throughout the entire raid. You can use the potion on your teammates to cure them when the corruption special happens. This is really nice in duos, for example, because you don't need to try and pour the potion to your teammate while they're moving around. You can just use the potion on them and your character will path over. Standing on vents and long-ranging enemies can be a viable strategy for those trying to make the room as simple as possible. This is mostly useful if you have a bofa. You can pick up your potions and hammer before you actually start the puzzle, though you'll have to run back and pick up the potions you dropped, wasting a bit of time. Curse baboons can path under you even if you're just standing still in the room, though to be honest, I don't fully understand how this happens. To my understanding, if you kill an NPC and then path directly to where it died, for the next few ticks, a curse baboon can walk under you. Though I'm not 100% sure if that's how it works, but I do have this clip here of where I tried to recreate that. It's very weird. Now that we've gone through everything there is to know while learning this room, let's go over some tips for trying to complete it as fast as possible. And after this, I'll show 2 different runs where I'm utilizing all these tactics. The most obvious advice when trying to speed up the room is to always be attacking something. This is often easier said than done, but doing so will greatly speed up your rune times. This also means attacking things immediately as they spawn and being quick to react when you kill an enemy so you can click the next. This is especially important when using a blowpipe since it attacks so fast and therefore is really easy to lose ticks with. Starting the next wave as soon as possible is also crucial to speeding up this room. On waves 1 and 2, you must kill all monkeys before the next wave will spawn. Waves 3 to 9 will start once all but 2 monkeys remain, and then wave 10 will start once all but 3 monkeys remain. Remember, killing thralls does not count towards these thresholds, so ignore them and wait for a volatile to spawn for you to kill them with. Since there's a bit of downtime between waves, you can use this time to solve whatever the issue in the room is. You don't want to be in a situation where you have to run over to a vent while you're not attacking anything and a new wave isn't spawning. It's definitely worth noting that you can fix pillars without losing any ticks. As soon as you see the construction XP drop, you can attack again. But when you pour the potion on a vent, you need to wait a tick or 2 before being able to attack or switch weapons. Efficient use of volatile baboons can really speed up your runs. Most of the time, you'll just be using volatiles to blow up thralls, but occasionally you can save time by blowing up meleeers, rangers, and even shamans. Just remember that the volatiles do take a couple seconds to blow up, So if you're just standing there waiting for the volatile to blow up and start the next wave, it's not really worth it. Using a volatile on enemies other than thralls is usually only worth it when you can continue attacking something while the volatile is blowing up. Usually the easiest monkey to blow up is the melee from the second to last wave, since you're guaranteed to have a volatile in the next wave. And the fact that it's a melee makes it easy to drag into range of the volatile. Something else to note is that you can quickly path around a volatile as it's blowing up to try and group up as many thralls as possible in the blast radius. Standing towards the middle of the room while waiting for waves to spawn removes the possibility of having enemies spawn on the opposite side of the room, causing you to lose a bunch of ticks running over to them. Efficient pathing through the acid can help you quickly get to the next target while taking little to no damage. I use Undead Grasp on waves 1 and 3 since it's a spell with 0 travel time. When I attack with my shadow, it takes a few ticks for the projectile to land, especially if the monkey's really far away. I wear a Tormented Bracelet for these waves to give me 1 extra max hit, which will one-hit these melees. Note that the melees that spawn on waves 8 and 9 cannot be one-hit with Undead Grasp because they have increased HP. Sometimes you're forced to run away from the monkeys in the room to fix a vent or pillar. If this happens, sometimes you can still attack with chins to not lose any ticks. There are 6 different locations that monkeys can spawn in the room. Since the spawn location is always random, you can hover your mouse over a random spawn to try and predict where the next wave will spawn to make it easier to click immediately. Dropping your potions towards the exit of the room allows you to not waste time once the room is over to continue to baba. I'll go over this in more detail in the next section, but knowing what weapon to have out on the start of each wave allows you to not waste time swapping weapons. This is some really niche tech, but something you can try and do to speed up a run is blowpiping the rangers and meleeers. This may sound counterintuitive, but since blowpipe is a 2-tick, this would technically be the fastest way to kill the rangers and meleeers, but you don't get a guaranteed max hit since you're attacking with the wrong style. This is really only worth it in, say, 300 invocation or below, since the chance of one-hitting them is really low. This truly is only useful if you're trying to speedrun, because this will result in, on average, slower times, but have potential for much faster times. Okay, finally, let's go through one of my runs, and I'll explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I'll leave out a lot of the little stuff that we've already gone over, and focus on the things that I'm doing to speed up the room. Okay, so we run in, summon a thrall, drop our potions towards the back, pick up the potion, Undead Grasp on the first 2 meleeers, grab my hammer. Then I'm waiting in the middle of the room to throw a chin at that mage there, and then kill the ranger. I wait with my chins out on the first 2 waves because I don't need any magic weapons to use Undead Grasp on the meleeers. And then chinning that mage is usually the fastest way to start wave 2. So I just always start wave 2 with the chins in my hand. During the downtime, I neutralize the vent, and then I throw on my blowpipe and then Undead Grasp with the 2 meleeers. Immediately when the second one dies, I path over to the shaman, start blowpiping it with rigor on. And then I turn on range prayer and start pathing over to melee the rangers. Blowpipe these 2 mages, kill the curse baboon. And then even though this is a ranger wave, I start it with my blowpipe out because there's also these special monkeys, which I can attack from a distance with my blowpipe and work on pathing over to the ranger in between attacks. So I do that here. I see that I need to go fix that pillar, but the issue just popped up, so I had time to kill both rangers rather than just one of them before I go fix the pillar. As I get over to the pillar, the next wave spawns, so I kill the nearby shaman, then fix the pillar, and then immediately run away and attack the mage. You can fix the pillars with a no tick loss, so just do it in between attacks. Here again, I'm waiting in the middle of the room because I want to be as close as possible to as many spawns as possible. I blow up the 2 nearby monkeys, shadow the meleeer, and then here I step away to try and drag this melee under the volatile, and I'm a bit far away from the shaman because of this, so I throw a chin at it, but really I should have just blowpiped the shaman and then walked under the volatile because it does take a few seconds for that volatile to blow up. So yeah, that wasn't ideal. Kill the shaman, kill the curse, kill the ranger, and he's right beside the vent I need to fix. I can see there's only 2 monkeys left, and so I've definitely hit the threshold for the next wave to spawn. And so I don't want to waste time shadowing that meleeer because shadow is really slow, and I know there's going to be volatiles on the next wave. So I just path towards the cursor boon to blowpipe it, and then finish off the rest of the wave and drag the meleeer under the volatiles. Could have saved like 6 seconds if I pathed properly to pull those thralls under, but hey, what can you do? Doing everything tick perfectly in the monkey puzzle is actually extremely difficult since there's just so much that goes into it. Well, there you have it. That's the entire guide. It took a really long time to make this guide. There's a lot that went into this, so I would again really appreciate if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel. I am probably live as you're watching this, so go ahead and click the link in the description to check me out on Twitch.